Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men.
The real question is, will Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna unveil the names of these powerful men? Why don't we wait and see?
These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikaladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner.
He did it. You've just heard Representative Ro Khanna name 6 of the alleged co-conspirators in the Epstein files, names that were ridiculously redacted, but now we have some clarity on who these individuals are. Now, right off the bat, I just want to say, while there are certainly some emails incriminating some of these people, and I'll tell you which ones we have some potential evidence of wrongdoing for, I want to be clear that not everyone that was listed is definitely someone who carried out child sex trafficking or engaged in any type of criminal behavior. It's important to actually investigate this appropriately. And if there is evidence, bring them to trial and ensure that there are real consequences for it. So let's talk about the names that were just listed right now. So there is little to no information on 2 of the individuals. So I'm not going to be able to talk about them at length at all. And that's Zorab Mikaladze and Leonik Leonov. Look them up. There isn't much information about them online. I'm sure we're going to learn more about them in the coming days. We already know who Sultan Ahmed Al Sulayem is. We talked about him. He's from the UAE, and we've done previous videos where we kind of discussed his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and how Jeffrey Epstein was essentially utilizing that relationship in order to build a relationship between Israel and the UAE. And it does turn out that he's the individual who sent Epstein that torture video that Epstein emailed back to say he really loved. I love the torture video. So again, Ahmed Al Sulayem is the person who sent that torture video. How do we know that? Well, thanks to Congressman Thomas Massey, who posted about it just yesterday, saying, in response to my posts on X today, DOJ unredacted an FBI file that labels 2 individuals as co-conspirators, unredacted a file that lists several men who might be implicated, tacitly admitted that Sultan Ahmed Al Sulayem was the sender of the torture video. Now, he's not an American citizen, so in terms of justice being served, when it comes to the Sultan, I don't think that we can expect much here in the United States. But when it comes to American citizens who have been wrapped up in this case, who have been listed as co-conspirators in the documents, but have never been tried or never stood trial for these alleged crimes, I think that the time has come. I think people are ready to see a real investigation into this, and more importantly, to see real justice for the survivors who were victimized and were denied justice for decades. And I'm going to stop and say this real quick, because this is a broader point about Congress and what can and can't be done by just a handful of Congress members. We have been led to believe that, well, it's our system of government is set up in a way where you can't really have 1 or 2 people make a difference, right? It's bureaucratic, there are checks and balances. But you want to know something? When you have Congress members who are willing to fight to make others bend to their will, as Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey have done. And by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's no longer in Congress, but she was also a fighter on this issue, and she deserves a lot of credit for it. They've all been attacked. As we know, Thomas Massey is dealing with a primary challenger in his congressional race, but they were undeterred. and they kept going. And it's inspiring to see, especially at a time when I am super black-pilled on Congress in particular. It is very good to see that in some cases, if we have members of Congress who are willing to fight, they can actually accomplish something that's really important here. Both transparency and potentially in the future, this is what I'm hoping for, justice for the survivors. So let's talk about the other people that were listed by Ro Khanna. So you have Salvatore Nurara. Didn't know much about him. Apparently, he was a member of the NYPD and served as a detective. He was previously investigated in connection with an escort service through though that investigation apparently had nothing to do with Epstein. It was just a different type of escort investigation that he was facing. So he was one of Epstein's contacts in the Little Black Book. That's all I know about him right now. Again, it bears repeating, just because he's listed doesn't necessarily mean that he engaged in any criminality. If we live in a just world, if we lived in a country that believed in justice, he would be investigated and we would find out what kind of relationship he had with Epstein and whether or not he ever engaged in the predatory behavior that victimized these young girls. Now, there's also Nicola Caputo, who is an Italian politician. He now works in agriculture. His name appears in records linked to Jeffrey Epstein, sourced from a 2009 New York Police Department list. That's all I know about him. So I'm not going to speculate. We're going to wait and see if there will be any investigation into these individuals. But at least some of those redacted names have now been unredacted thanks to the pressure campaign implemented by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. So that leaves Les Wexner, the former Victoria's Secret CEO who we've been hearing a lot about, we've been talking about on the show.
You know that moment right before you launch something new, that pit in your stomach? I remember when I started TYT, I thought to myself, what if no one watches? What if we run out of money tomorrow? It was scary. Still think about that every once in a while, but you push through, and having the right tools makes all the difference. Like when we launched Shop TYT, Shopify was a lifesaver. We used it and we loved it. If you're starting a business, those what ifs can be terrifying, and that's where Shopify comes in. What if I can't build a good looking website? Shopify has hundreds of templates to build a beautiful online store that actually matches your brand. What if people haven't heard of my brand? Shopify helps you to get the word out with easy to run email and social campaigns. What if I get stuck or have a question in the process? Their award-winning 24/7 support is there with expert advice. And the best part, that iconic purple Shop Pay button. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. Less abandoned carts, more sales for you. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
And last night, Congressman Thomas Massie called the DOJ out for attempting to protect Wexner by redacting his name in the Epstein files. So let's take a look at what he posted on X. He says, "This is a well-known retired CEO. DOJ should unredact this. Why did they redact it?" And here is Congressman Massie describing the fight he had with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche about the fact that Wexner's name was redacted in the files and how Massie ultimately won the battle. Take a look.
I'd like to hear his take on the redaction of the CEO who's listed as a co-conspirator in the 2019 child sex trafficking case.
So can I ask you, because, and I want to ask if this is the same person, Todd Blanche also said about that tonight that the document you're citing there has victim names in it.
Correct.
Seeming to say that's why there are redactions. He said, "We have just unredacted Les Wexner's name from this document, but his name already appears in the file thousands of other times." And he says the Justice Department is hiding nothing. Is that the retired CEO that you're referencing?
It is. He unredacted it after I found it. That's a problem. And I'm glad they've admitted they made a mistake by redacting that.
So you're saying it was redacted when you went in there today, and after you tweeted that, they unredacted it?
Correct.
Look, I don't know if it was a mistake. I wouldn't really give this administration the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the Epstein files, especially because of the fact that they've been engaged in this cover up from the very beginning. Trump wanted people to forget about it, stop talking about it, don't ask me about it, I don't want to release the files. And it was, again, that pressure campaign implemented by Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, that ultimately led to Trump bending to their will. But in releasing the Epstein files, as we know, the first tranche was heavily redacted. And the second tranche was both heavily redacted and had questionable redactions. Not just the fact that they were redacting the names of the alleged, co-conspirators, but also because of the fact that they did not redact the names of the survivors. They did not redact the names of the survivors. Also, another thing that was very clear to me is they wanted to redact Donald Trump's name anywhere they could find it. And there was this one strange redaction in an email where the DON in the word don't was redacted. So I don't know if it was like an auto redact thing looking for Donald or Don, but like, come on. So anyway, you could tell where the priorities were when it came to the way these documents were redacted, but I'm glad that we're getting, again, more clarity on what's happening here and who these alleged co-conspirators are. Now, congressional lawmakers were able to pour through some of those unredacted Epstein files beginning yesterday. And what's been kind of incredible to see is how their whole demeanor is and how they react to reporters' questions as they are leaving the halls of Congress after like reading those unredacted Epstein files. So let's actually start with my favorite reaction, which is Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Take a look at this.
Congresswoman, are you among the members who got to see the unredacted files today?
Yes, I saw some of them, not all of them, obviously. And I'll be going back tomorrow to see more.
Any reaction on what you've seen so far?
I think that there's folks who are definitely implicated and co-conspirators. And I don't think everyone there that was talking about underage girls being trafficked are victims.
Got it. And do you support any clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell? She was saying that she was...
I do not.
Okay.
I think Ghislaine Maxwell should get more time, and she should definitely be in a harsher prison than what she's in. It's absolutely disgusting.
There isn't much I agree with Lauren Boebert on, but I definitely agree with everything she said there, especially at the end when she was asked about Ghislaine Maxwell and whether or not she should be granted clemency. Ghislaine Maxwell is a disgusting liar. She has lied under oath. There is no use to hear from her, to hear her testimony. I don't trust that she will tell the truth. And the idea that she would trade testimony for clemency is laughable to me, and hopefully that never happens. But as you can see, after Lauren Boebert looked at those unredacted files, she was shaken by it and upset about it. And if that isn't enough to convince you that there are some shady files there that Lauren Boebert just saw, I will turn your attention to another Republican lawmaker, a Republican lawmaker who apparently, and I can't believe she admitted this on the record, didn't think the Epstein thing was really a big deal and was kind of annoyed by it. Okay, kind of didn't know why people were so focused on, the fact that there was a pedophile ring victimizing American minors. And also obviously potentially doing the same with minors from other countries as well. So I turned to GOP Senator Cynthia Loomis. She's from Wyoming. Here's what she had to say after viewing the unredacted Epstein files.
Well, initially, my reaction to all this was, I don't care. I don't know what the big deal is. But now I see what the big deal is, and it was worth investigating. And the members of Congress that have been pushing this were not wrong.
No, they were not wrong. You didn't care? You didn't care. Look, there's a possibility that maybe she just had absolutely no curiosity about the Epstein story whatsoever, and she kept her head in the sand. But I just feel that as a public servant in this country, the bare minimum is to have a modicum of concern about the vulnerable in your country. And underage people, vulnerable. Elderly people, vulnerable. In this case, in this context, obviously the people being preyed upon are minors. And the idea that she's like, I don't really care. What's the big deal? But I give her credit for being honest about how she originally felt about this situation. I certainly would have a little bit more self-awareness and maybe not incriminate myself that way, right? But nonetheless, at least she looked at the files and now has come to the right conclusion, which is this is a big deal. This is a huge scandal. It's a huge scandal that is implicating some of the most powerful, wealthy people, not only in our own country, but across the globe. I mean, there is a reckoning in the UK right now. I wish there was more of a reckoning here in the United States. Hopefully we will get there. It's very depressing that we haven't gotten there yet. But for the first time ever, I have a little bit of hope that things might end up the way they're supposed to be. There might actually be justice. And the only reason why I think that is because we have like a handful of lawmakers who are fired up about this and they're gonna keep pushing. And I love to see it. Now, as Congressman Jamie Raskin noted yesterday after viewing the unredacted files, well, they showed evidence of victims as young as 9. As young as 9. So my mind wanders back to Batya Ungar-Sargon on CNN's Abby Phillips show and how she didn't feel that the Epstein files really taught us anything new. You know, no real evidence of criminality here. Okay. So yeah, it is a huge deal. And if there is a confirmation of victims as young as 9, I want to know why haven't charges already been filed, right? Like that should have already happened. But finally, I want to discuss why the survivors, because a lot of people have been asking this, including yesterday. I think it was Box who wrote in and asked, look, why are we like going through this lengthy, arduous process? Like, why don't we just have the survivors name the perpetrators? So I want to show you why it is likely they're avoiding naming names themselves. Because you have a lot of powerful people who are chomping at the bit to further destroy these women's lives. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, take a look at this.
A woman who was on Epstein's plane, she says, I was never on an Epstein plane with a young woman.
Right.
I never got on this. This is total defamation, a total lie, but I can't disprove it because they won't give me her name. For example, in my case, it's an adult woman. We don't know whether she's a victim. We don't know whether she's a perpetrator. We don't know whether she's a co-conspirator. Why do you hide her name and produce the name of the people who are accused? That's guilt by accusation. That's guilt by association. It's McCarthyism. It's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It has to stop. And the media is playing a role in this. Politicians are playing a role in this. Epstein will never be remembered.
Let me jump in for a second.
He will be remembered for inciting McCarthyism that infects America now more than it ever has since the 1950s.
So I want to turn to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene because I think she understands really well why it is that women who have survived the Epstein scandal would not want to come out and name names, name the perpetrators. So let's go to this post on X where she says, and this right here is exactly why the Epstein victims are afraid to publicly name the list of rich, powerful men. They will get sued, bankrupt, and silenced. Releasing all of the Epstein files reveals the truth about everyone. So she's right about that. And by the way, I have personal experience with this. Not in that I was ever victimized or preyed upon by Epstein and his cabal of billionaire pedophiles, but because of the fact that Dershowitz, who was Epstein's lawyer, of course, he volunteered to be Epstein's lawyer, and he's the one who secured the sweetheart deal after Epstein was convicted in 2008. Okay, so that's what you should know about Alan Dershowitz. And yes, he has been named in the files. There have been accusations against him, including from Jane Doe 3, who claimed that Dershowitz was totally fine with what was going on. In fact, at one point, she alleges that she was going down on Epstein, and Dershowitz would just casually walk in and have a conversation with Epstein as it was happening. Okay, that's what she alleges. Okay, so it's not just the thing about the plane. It's not just the thing about him getting a massage. He had his underwear on, he alleges. It's the fact that he allegedly knew about what was going on and was providing cover for it. That has also been alleged. Now, anytime I have done a story or talked about or been on a panel with Dershowitz. His MO is to threaten lawsuits, always. Now, I'm a big girl, okay? And I like discovery. I'd like to discover a lot of things. So you want to sue me, go ahead, because I know I haven't defamed him and I know that there's no merit to said lawsuit. But I also know that getting threatened like that by a guy who's got money is scary. And you know that that could ruin your life. You know that that could bankrupt you if you can't afford attorneys. So that's probably why these women didn't want to come out and name names. Now, the reason why someone like Ro Khanna is able to name names without fear of litigation or a lawsuit is because he did that on the House floor. Why is that relevant? This is something that a lot of Americans don't know about, but members of Congress, public servants, are immune from lawsuits if they are saying something while they are on duty, for lack of a better way of putting it, right? So if they are on the House floor and they are saying something as part of their job, they are protected from the types of lawsuits that these women would probably deal with should they be the ones to make these allegations, let's say on social media or something like that. So that immunity is really important. And if you watch some of the interviews that Thomas Massie has done on cable news, he holds things a little closer to the chest. But when he's on the House floor, he's fiery and he feels free to speak about what's actually going on. And that's because he's got extra protection as a public servant doing his job as a member of Congress.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.